Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Houston Manufacturers Show. Now, since we have elections coming up, we wanted to take advantage that we had a candidate right here in town. We wanted to interview her and find out more about where she stands on issues. So, Yvonne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robbie. It's very nice to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you here. One, you know, you're a new candidate running here, so you're running against the incumbent, and you're running on the Libertarian Party, so which is very interesting. Before we get into actually talking about issues and some of your differences to our incumbent, I wanted to just find out a little bit about you and why you're even going down this path.
Well, I joined the Libertarian Party in 1974, and it was after years of being disappointed. I felt like what we call politically homeless, that neither of the other two parties really represented the way I felt the government should be run and my viewpoint of life in general. And a friend actually invited me as a social thing to go to a Libertarian event with her. And I thought, oh my gosh, I finally found people who think like I think. And joined the party and had followed Libertarian candidates, and it got me studying Libertarian thinking and philosophy a lot. And then several years ago, my husband and I moved to the Austin area, and I had reached a time in my life where I could be more politically active again. And 2 years ago, ran for state representative in that area. And then when the filings were happening earlier this year for the Senate race, et cetera, some of the party leaders actually approached me and said, we need a strong candidate for the Senate race. We're not happy with the people we've talked to so far, and we'd like for you to run. It had not occurred to me to do that before I was approached. But, you know, I felt a sense of duty a bit, you know. The group wanted me, they needed me, and if they felt like I had something to contribute in the way that they thought I could campaign and get the Libertarian message out there, then I was willing to do that.
Well, that's great. A lot of people, you know, complain, but they don't really take action. So it's good that you're taking action there and responsibilities as well.
Well, thank you.
Now, let's talk about the incumbent and what makes you different than John Cornyn is our current senator, and you're running against him. And tell me, what's going to make you different?
Well, I think really it's the whole issue of smaller government versus bigger government. For so many years, the Republicans have held themselves out to be advocates of smaller government and lower taxes, but we really don't see that in their actions for the most part.
Right.
And John Cornyn demonstrated that conclusively for many Texans when he voted in favor of the bailout bill. And I have to tell you that within hours of when that happened, or minutes of when it happened, my phone started ringing, my email was flooded with people who were saying, you know, we'll do everything we can, you know, to get him defeated. I don't think he realized how betrayed Texans felt with that vote, that with public opinion that strongly against it, and it going at odds with everything fiscal conservatives believe in. People just were more than disappointed. Some of them put it a lot more strongly than that, I have to share with you.
I've been on the internet and I've seen some of the things that people are saying. And the American people, not just in Texas, but definitely here in Texas, are very angry about this. They're very upset. You know, when the House turned it down, it felt like a victory, I think, for Americans. And then we felt definitely more betrayed, I think, because they turned it around and passed it through anyway. So.
Right. Yeah, I was very hopeful. I was actually watching live when the vote was happening.
Me too.
And I had chill bumps, you know, and my phone rang and it was a friend. And it was like, well, I hope that this is the best thing for the economy. And I said to him, you know, regardless of you know, your viewpoint on what's needed for the economy, just the fact that you know, the basic freedoms, the basic constitutionality or unconstitutionality of that bill, you know, that people voted the right way. They weren't intimidated and they weren't blackmailed. And then, needless to say, that got turned around in short order.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so let's talk a little bit more about the bailout bill too, and what were some of the inherent problems that you see in that bill, though? Not to mention it's unconstitutional, but what are some of the things, corporate welfare things? I know, it's like, where do I start?
Where do we begin?
I know.
And you hit it. You know, the first thing is there's no constitutional authority for that kind of thing. Number two is just the level of spending. You know, the government doesn't have any money of its own. It can only spend or invest. They're using the term invest these days.
Oh yes, invest.
It has become such a public relations machine. What can we call this that's more acceptable to people? You know, rescue instead of bailout, for example. You know, they can only do that with money that they take from us, one way or another. And if they don't take it directly with taxes, when they print new money to do it, you know, it erodes the value of the dollars that we have so badly. It's still taking it, you know, from us. So just the basic concept of the bailout. And then you get to the fact that you're rewarding the people or taking care of the people who created the problem to begin with.
Yes.
You know, I watched, you know, there were no hearings, you know, there was no debate. I saw no one who had any kind of authority in economics that had a counterpoint, you know, presented. It was kind of like just rammed through. It was really very shocking, even from a procedural standpoint, you know, the way that that occurred. And then to rub a little salt in the wound, they add $150 billion of bailouts and what do they call them now? You know, Christmas decorations or something. You know, decorating the tree and sweeteners and, you know, again, whatever from a public relations viewpoint you want to call it. Things that people could use to help justify, I think, to their constituents that they knew opposed the bailout. Well, yeah, but I got you this and I got you that in the process.
Exactly. Well, I had to vote for it because we've been trying to get this through, and it's the only way.
Right.
You know, well, thank you. We're already bankrupt, as you said.
Right.
And we've got runaway spending. So what are your plans? What do you see as a solution to this runaway spending?
Well, simply we've got to slash programs, not just, you know, people love to do the thing where, you know, you pull out the list of, oh, they're spending, you know, $250,000 to study the sex life of beetles or something like that. But those kinds of cuts aren't going to be what's going to do it. We're going to have real slashing of entire programs. And, you know, the first one usually that comes to libertarians' mind is get rid of the Department of Education. You know, that we didn't have one until
Go back to private education.
1977. Well, and even, I mean, most ideally, you know, private education, but even just to get it back to the local communities in the states. We didn't have federal involvement in education until the mid-70s. And actually, the quality of education in the United States was better at that time. So just, you know, slash that department. All they do is take our money, skim a layer of it off for, you know, administration in Washington, and then send it back to the states anyway. So, you know, that's a big budget item that could be cut immediately. There are 760 military sites and operations outside of the United States.
Wow.
I mean, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of. We're defending Japan,
right?
One of the wealthiest countries on it. We're defending Germany, you know, countries that can have their own military, you know, operations. We don't need to be, and in some cases, we're just antagonizing, you know, people and perhaps creating some problems for ourselves with that presence too. So, you know, bring the military home, you know, that's scattered all over the planet, and that would be a huge saving. So, I mean, those are just some of the highlights. We could probably do a whole hour program on you know, where we could make cuts. But we've got to do that. And I think just for fun, when I got to, if I'm elected, one of the first proposals I'll make is that we go ahead and slash congressional salaries too, just so the Congress can get in the same boat with the rest of the country economically.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and maybe they could work as many days as most Americans too.
Oh, that would be good.
How about that?
Yeah. A full-fledged Monday to Friday, not just Tuesday to Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Full days of work.